Hey, it's Shay.
What's up, Why Notters? It's Jayla
From the Ask Yourself Why Not podcast.
the place you come where you stop asking yourself why.
And you start asking yourself, why not? We've been practicing our intro.
I was just going to say, Shay, you threw me off.
I did.
In our intros that we have that run on the radio, iHeart, we always just go straight to it. I'm Shay, I'm Jayla. So
Yeah, I had that in my subconscious somehow from
That's
this
okay.
morning. But if you have heard our intros, they're playing now on like 97.3, 95.7, all of
The WOMP.
The WOMP FM, yes. All of the iHeart radio stations, you'll hear little 30-second promos of our upcoming episodes on there.
Yes, I heard it this morning listening to Elvis Duran. And I usually don't listen to the radio. I was telling Shay, but I couldn't get my phone to connect. And I think it was the universe that did that on purpose, because I did after the fact. Because right when I was like, whatever, I'll just listen to the radio because I needed something, I heard us for the first time.
Yes.
The first time.
It's funny when you hear yourself on the radio, you're like, oh my gosh. And I tried to record us, but it clicked onto like my Bluetooth.
Yeah.
And then I missed half of the thing.
Well, I immediately was like, this voice sounds familiar. Is this us?
This is me.
Is this me?
Yes.
That's me.
Yes.
But yeah, we're excited about it.
Excited about that. Yep. And then Empower Fest, stay tuned for more information on that. We are making it bigger and better this year. It's taking place May 17th.
Yes, we're very excited. May 17th at Waterfront Hall. We have got the second floor and the third floor space, so we're able to grow it, double it, actually. So we're going to have twice the amount of experience stations. We're going to have vendors this year.
Yes.
And then, of course, we're bringing back the fan favorites, small little mini exercises.
Think of this as a day for you to go and try out a bunch of different kinds of services that you didn't even know existed that you need in your life. I changed my hair professional last year based on kind of my experience at experience stations, and have gone to several of the other services that I discovered through our event, Empower Fest.
And to be honest, guys, I am feeling so excited just by the signups we've got.
Yeah.
And I only posted it one time. I just spoke with somebody and they're like, hey, have you got anyone to sign up? And I'm like, we've got a ton of people signed up on one post. I'm afraid to post it again because we're almost at max capacity just with signups from one day.
Yeah, we're a little over
And
it.
a lot of the things that people are signing up for, I never knew existed in Wheeling.
Yeah, natal chart reading.
Yeah, what were some of the other ones? I don't know.
Tarot
Just
cards,
all
different
kinds
things.
of cool stuff.
Numerology.
So, we're excited about that, but on to our episode today. We're
Yes.
actually bringing a guest back. We had her on
A couple years ago, probably at this point.
a long time ago. Yeah, we're on year 4 with this. It's been some time.
Yeah.
I love her energy. I love seeing all her content on her social. We haven't met in person, I don't think, but I feel like we're besties and I know her. But Miss Jessica Johnston. She has a BS in business administration. She has 15 years of experience in spa and wellness industry. I believe she was in, she led the spa in Ogilvy for some time when she was still here. So,
Yes, did a wonderful job.
She did a wonderful job. She had we talked a lot last time we had her on about her personal battle with cancer, and it's really progressed and fueled her passion for helping others in the wellness field or just kind of anything of a life's challenge, right?
Yes.
So she's very inspiring. She's just very dedicated, and she just is very compassionate, just to really providing people that care and recognizing that their own unique paths. That they have to take their own unique paths with healing themselves. Excited to have her. She actually started a podcast and she is getting ready to launch, or she just launched her website. So welcome, Jessica.
Thank you. Hello. Thank you
Hello.
for having me back. I can't believe how fast the 4 years went. That's insane.
I know. I want to say you were year 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I think it was year 1.
Yeah, it was right after we moved to Pittsburgh, and we've been here 4 years.
Yeah, so you were probably one of our first guests. And if you want to go back and listen to that episode, we can link it in the show notes if I can
We're
find
gonna have
it.
to find it.
Yeah, with
That
this,
would be interesting.
yeah, it would be fun to go back and listen to that because you're probably evolved a little bit more.
And Jess, now that you have a podcast, once you are in it for so long, you'll have like these weird feelings to go back and listen to like
Yes.
episode 1 or 2. It's like you're a whole new person. And just kind of for perception, when we started, 5-year-old was a baby.
He was an infant.
He
Yeah.
was an infant child. So it's like crazy when you go to listen back to an old episode, it'll be like, who is that?
Well, even just starting for the last 6 months, I already felt like I started to evolve differently and kind of expand in what I wanted to do. But again, it was a matter of I had to start, right?
Yep.
It's that idea of like you just have to start or you'll never know. And then once you start to find your footing and the understanding of what you're really trying to build. But you have to start. And, that's a big thing that you guys talk about with your podcast and your community. Like, why not? Just do it.
Yeah, and I love prior to recording this, we were talking about her new website and we were commenting on how pretty her pictures were. And she was like, I just jumped the gun and had professional shots done last
did it.
year prior to even knowing that I was going to do a podcast and
Why not?
launch a website. So I love that. It's those small little action steps that kind of fuel you
Yeah.
Yeah.
to things that you didn't know, would even evolve.
Yep.
Yes. So just kind of like in a nutshell, the elevator conversation, if you were to meet somebody or if someone would go to your social channel, like who is Jessica Johnston?
I am very full of energy, as you said.
Yep.
I love building relationships and community and helping others. That's really a big part of who I've always been, is helping other people. And something I learned during my battle with cancer, as you mentioned, was that I had to learn to take care of me first. And then I could expand out again and help others. That's really where the idea for all of my community started, was this whole idea of I'm essentially evolving and restarting everything in my life. And what does that look like for helping other people? So Jessica is a budding entrepreneur. You want an elevator pitch. A budding entrepreneur that is just saying why not and taking steps and figuring out what it looks like as I go. A very active, hands-on wife and mom with 2 boys who are very, very active. And I love that this can be built around your life. And you can still be a mom, and you can still work, and you can still build other dreams that you have and bring things to life.
We had a friend, Sydney, she's a good bit younger than us. She started a
good bit.
podcast and she looks at it like a diary. And I thought that was really nice too.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that. That's a great idea.
I did too. I was like, I do like that because it does capture your
Because
evolution.
we always kind of open up with what's going on with us, and then we'll kind of go into it. So it's kind of, in a sense, it is a diary.
Yeah. So you mentioned your cancer diagnosis. And if you wouldn't mind kind of talking about how that has really fueled a lot of changes for you. Like you said, starting to take care of yourself, building this community, getting into wellness even more than you already were, and starting this podcast. If you wouldn't mind kind of going through what happened and then how it got you to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and as you mentioned, I was in the spa and wellness industry for the last 15 years, and I was in the spa as the director of spa and wellness. Absolutely loved it. We had product lines from different places all around the country. It wasn't anything necessarily local. We did carry some local products that we made sure aligned properly, but the product lines that we carried were something I never knew. I had no idea. When I started in the spa, I was like, I don't know what this is, but why not? Let's try it.
Yep.
And it evolved, and I was able to build the appropriate resources and make the right connections with people, so that as I was about 10 years into that is when I got the diagnosis. And thankfully, I had the resources and understood how to properly take care of myself and utilize clean products and take care of yourself, even into the fact of mindset, which you guys know is so important. So I had built all those layers and had a really solid foundation for what optimum health looked like for me, and then received the news of my diagnosis. And I was still working as full-time as I could, but remote. I was still trying to help out support the team, And went through all my chemo treatments, had a few hiccups along the way, but again, just always went back to controlling the mindset. That's so, so, so important. And also, as you guys know, living in the present is crucial. So there were times where I was going through something and I could feel myself spiral, and I would stop and I would say, no, I am okay. Like I would bring it literally back to the second. So having all those resources was really important. I went back into work for another year, and then my husband was relocated for work. So I now work for one of our vendor companies remote for his product line, and have just started building what does this community look like for me, and what resources do I have that I can now share with others. And that's really the premise for where my community started. It was literally the first week I was in the hospital for chemo. I was there for 5 days. I had 3 days worth of chemo. And on our drive home, I said to my husband, I said, you know what? I'm going to my social media. He was like, what do you mean? I said, somebody out there is going to need to see this. And I have to share the good, the bad, the ugly, any resource I can possibly share, because someone along the way will need it.
Wow, that's powerful, because I think a lot of people would like.
Now, what was your diagnosis for those that are listening?
I had large T-cell lymphoma.
Okay.
T-cell, okay. I actually represent a product for DLBCL.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it was, if you go back on my social media and scroll back, I mean, this was 5 years ago. I had this, like, it looked like an alien coming out of the side of my neck. That's how
I
big
remember.
it was. And I was early stage 1. And the interesting thing that I found out from the DO in my oncologist's office was typically that type of cancer hides in your lymph nodes. And I literally came out on the side of my neck like, hey, it's right here. Here we are. Come get us.
Yeah. So when you're going through that, I mean, that word's scary, right, for all of us. It means different things now because we've made so much progress in the space of cancer now, but it's still an incredibly scary diagnosis and word. What was your favorite modality to help your mindset during that time? Was it journaling? Was it reading books? Was it meditating, counseling? What was it?
I did all of the above. So I actually loved silence. Which really surprised, my mom was very surprised by that, because she was always concerned that if I was silent, I was spiraling in my head. And I said to her, I said, no, the silence is what I need. I have to have the quiet. I would read books, appropriate books. I tried to dive into ones that were more positive and self-help and growth oriented, because I was like, okay, this is a season. This is not who I'm going to be forever. So I have to dig into any resource I can to help myself grow for when the time is right. So I dug into books, and then I also started journaling.
Yeah, that's been my favorite modality, which is surprising. Sometimes just getting it out on paper. I remember reading a book years ago, and they were like, the single most transformative thing that I've ever done was write down affirmations. And at the time, I didn't understand it, but I just wrote them down anyway. You write things down as if they've already happened, right? But now I get that reprograms your subconscious mind, which is responsible for 95% of how we act in the world. And when you write down those affirmations as if they've already happened, it's like it puts the energy out into the universe, and you start to see opportunities and people and things to connect with that you wouldn't have before to get you there.
And even on the flip side too, I read, and I think this makes so much sense too, just getting it out, even if you can't speak it, even if you journal it out and then light the paper on fire, like you still feel like this weight off your chest, because you can get something out, instead of holding it in.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of times, for me, I was never someone that wanted to journal. I don't like to write. I don't want to write. I want to talk to people and have a conversation,
And it takes time,
Yeah, it does. So I just started actually several years before my diagnosis, I started getting up earlier in the morning and having time for myself because, you know, as working mothers, you have no time for yourself really.
Zero.
Unless you make it, you're really
You have to make it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I started just whatever I dumped, whatever I had in the morning, I just jotted it. It didn't matter. A lot of people stop themselves from journaling because they think I have to write this like amazing thing on my notebook and it has to be great and make sense. No, it doesn't. Just dump it out, like you said.
Yeah.
Dump it and let it go.
That's what I'm getting from you is just take your actions. They can be imperfect, but just go ahead and take them. We all do get wrapped around that perfectionism. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I need a nice notebook. No, you don't. Just get a freaking piece of paper and write down whatever is coming to your mind at that moment.
That book we have a book club, and the book we're reading right now, You're a Badass. She has a whole chapter dedicated to just don't get fixated on the plan. The plan's just to start.
Yes.
And then you'll start. And then you'll come to something else, and then you'll have to, you know, make a decision there, and then that's your plan, and then you'll make a decision here. That's your plan. Like, you're never just going to have one plan. Like, you're going to have to pivot. And she just focuses so much on saying, do what feels right in the moment for you. Like, listen to your intuition.
That's really good.
Yep.
I just listened to that chapter this morning.
Jen
so-
Sincero, you're a badass.
Yes, I read her book. I have it right behind me on my bookshelf.
Nice. We
Yeah.
got to see her speak last year. It was, or 2 years ago. It was awesome.
It was 2 years ago.
So you were into a little bit of mindset work prior to your diagnosis then. What was like your introduction to that? I know you're in the spa industry, and so you're probably exposed to
Wellness things.
wellness more than others. But like, what was your first book that you were like, well, this is changing my mind, or your first something?
Well, I would honestly say it was really when I started to give myself an opportunity to try yoga and to allow myself to slow down enough to get on the mat. You know, for me, and you know, you guys are the similar way, is we're so go sometimes that we have a hard time allowing ourselves to go, whew, I need 5. I need 10, whatever it is, or hey, I'm going to go to my yoga class because it's good for me. But I would say it really started back when I finally was like, you know what? I'm going to try yoga. I am not flexible. I am not going to be bendy and put my foot over my head, but that's not what it's about. It was like that initial realization. And
So many people think it's about that and they get intimidated. But
No, I'm the least flexible person on the planet.
But you know, I am proud of you. You have gotten so much more flexible. So much more. When I watch you, sometimes I'm like, yes, Jayla, look at you go. Honestly, your legs are high. You got it.
Yeah, girl.
Okay.
I am.
The body doesn't feel that way, but thank you.
Well, it does look good, so keep going.
It does. Looks really good.
Well, yes, but no. People think it's like all meditation too, but it's not. It's really connecting your body and your mind in a way that benefits you.
Yeah.
It's so interpretive, you know?
Yep.
When you got into this yoga and all that stuff too, like Jayla and I, for us, it was, you know, kind of similar lifestyle to you right after having kids where you're like maxed out with giving to everybody else, right? I started to have signs of like stress with illness like in my body, and so did Jayla. Was there like a point with you two prior to your diagnosis and getting into yoga that you were like,
There's got to be
something else. Like I have got to feel better than I do now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I was always active. I was a cheerleader in gymnastics my whole life. People don't know this, but I also did karate with my dad. And I love being active. I'm not a good sit still person at all. And as I got closer to that time of my diagnosis, I was about a year out and I got really, really sick. I'm not someone that gets sick very often. And I got really sick and I was in bed for about 4 days and I could not wake up. I mean, I was exhausted and I thought, oh, maybe I have mono or the flu, whatever. Just sleep it off. I'll be fine. And went back to work. And then it was 2 months later is when that bump first came out.
Interesting.
And I kind of went wild. I mean, I tore my life up. I worked with an integrative nutritionist. She also read my blood work. She does blood work chemistry analysis. I started seeing our chiropractor, who is neurologically based and more of a wellness doctor. And I I stopped drinking. I drank water only. Completely put upside down my food, what I would eat. And there was no signs. There was nothing pointing to the fact that I had cancer in my body. Nothing. And it took almost an entire year of back and forth of trying to figure it out. And during that time, I would be more conscious of slipping away during the day. And thankfully, the yoga studio was right there by the spa. And I would just take my lunch break during yoga class. And I would just start really honing in and like turning my focus into me, because I knew I didn't feel right. Something was wrong and I knew it, but there was no conclusive evidence on the other side saying otherwise.
That's powerful. That's really powerful. So that led you to building your Together We Battle podcast. What was the initial concept behind your podcast? When did it launch? And then how has it sort of evolved already?
Yeah. So I launched it last July, and the entire premise for my community was going to be, when I first started to pull information together, was going to be this idea of integrating oncology and wellness.
And oncology means treating cancer.
Yeah,
right?
Oncology just meant, based on my experience and battle through that oncology space, what I had learned and how I could share my battle with others and how I integrated my battle with wellness, because I continued to do all of the wellness pieces alongside of my treatments. And that was very, very powerful and helped me stay really strong and healthy during that whole time.
It probably helped you stay like connected to yourself too. Because your whole world gets in a tornado when you get a diagnosis like that,
Yep. Good. And the doctor told me basically overnight, he said, "You're not to leave your house. You're home."
Really?
Overnight. I wasn't allowed to go back to work. I had to let them know, hey, I'm not going to be coming back to the office for the foreseeable future until my doctor says otherwise. And I didn't leave the house unless I went to have a treatment or to go to get adjusted at the
And that was because of your immune system? You were at risk for catching things. Okay.
Yeah. So it was like my life flipped upside down overnight. I mean, literally in all sense. So the original idea was to integrate the two worlds, the oncology space and the wellness, so that I could share, there's different ways you can get through a battle like that and have a stronger, healthier battle. And I started into it in about 4 to 5 months into the podcast. Again, it's not only been a few months. I got this kind of epiphany one day, and I was like, I don't want to pigeonhole myself, right? I don't want to only speak to cancer patients and people going through oncology. I want that to be part of it because that is my story. But it's my story to share, and I have connections with people in that space because of the foundation I'm part of and because I am active in it as well still. But it's really about opening up and expanding. This is my word for 2025, expansion.
Yeah.
So I want to do more collaborations, and I want to invite more people into the community, and understanding that every single person has a dark season. Either you've been through it or there's something that may come up in the future that you don't know yet.
Many dark seasons, lives, right?
Yeah, it's just part of life. So how can we
always change?
Yeah, absolutely. How can we take your dark season and give you a community of people that can help you feel more supported and understanding, like, I'm not alone and I can get through this and I'm stronger than I think I am.
Yeah.
I loved what you said earlier too about this is a season, because I think when we get caught up in those dark seasons, we feel like it's going to be that way forever.
Yeah.
And it may, with oncology, with cancer, you may have a cancer for the rest of your life, just not you, but in general. But also, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to feel down the whole time or up the whole time. It's just managing the ebbs and flows of life, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think a lot of times stuff I talk about too is that you just have to be honest and real with yourself where you're at the time, right? That's where you are at that moment or during that season. But you have an option to get out of, get yourself in the right direction or adjust your mindset so that you're stronger. Find a community of people that can help lift you up. And I love the quote, you've survived every hard day you've had.
That's really
I
good.
love the quote, when you're in the dark, look for the stars.
Ooh,
Like the people, the places, like it's not necessarily just one thing specific, but just the things that give you just a little bit of light.
Yep, exactly.
do you find that practicing mindset work, like your journaling and meditation and yoga and all the things, helps you get out of the dark seasons quicker than you did in the past? Or what are your thoughts on that?
I would say yes. I just think because once you're accustomed to stopping yourself, if you can recognize it, call it out and go, I'm headed down the wrong direction. I need to stop that. And if you can basically throw that thought process in the light and see it and name it, then you can make appropriate changes to your behaviors and your habits and get yourself moved into a better direction.
Or just have an awareness around what your triggers are or what your glimmers are too. What can turn your day around in a good way, but what can turn your day around in a not so good way, and just take that inventory. And I just started a leadership class, and he said, you've always heard, it's not what happens to you, but it's how you react, how you respond. But then he took it a step further, and it says how you react, how you respond, and how you recover. And I thought that was like a huge light bulb to me, because you react, you respond, but then what do you do after that? You have to take care of yourself. Like if you had like all these sad emotions, or if you had these like angry emotions, like you can't just react, respond, and then do nothing. Like you still have to recover and get yourself back to a good feeling, like in a good place, know?
Yeah.
So I think doing like a lot of the wellness stuff really helps. That's the recovery part.
Yeah, and community, right? And talking to other people that are going through a similar situation as you. Knowing you're
Absolutely.
not alone.
Well, and what you look for, you get more of. You guys know that.
Oh, yes.
What you're open to and what you look for, you get a lot more of. So starting to pay attention to what you're thinking and what you're allowing in your life is going to make a big difference. And the one thing that we all forget to do, and this is probably my biggest tip for people, is when you are starting to feel yourself spiral or get in a direction that you don't like, pause and take a deep breath. We forget to breathe, and then we can't get the oxygen to our brain, and then we make choices or say things that we don't want to do or say. So take a breath, give yourself just a minute to have some space and regroup. And like you were saying, it's interesting you brought up how you react and respond, because I'm actually going to do a podcast with a dear friend of mine who has done some study into that, and she's going to give our listeners some information on that and some things they can do to help make sure they're being appropriate with how they react and respond.
Managing emotions, right?
Not in their fight and flight, or fight and flight.
Yeah.
Jeez.
We are getting our Pilates certification. Slowly, but surely.
Ooh.
But they do talk a lot about the breath in Pilates. And in Pilates, this guy that invented it, I think his name was Joseph.
Yes, his last name's Pilates.
Pilates. Talked about the importance of the core, right? And that's where you breathe from. But this was interesting that I learned today. It's very kind of intuitive to inhale, but it's not to take a deep exhale. So she was like, when you are teaching Pilates, cue your people to exhale. Completely get rid of what's in that diaphragm. And I thought that just what you said too with breathing, if you can just remind yourself to even exhale, like to
get it all out,
deep, long, because there's nerves.
How good does it feel to have a release, like just in anything?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
know?
it does. It kind of just immediately calms your nervous
Like even
system.
just, I'm thinking of like things like you have your hair in a ponytail tight all day. How good does it feel just to have that release?
Take your bra off.
You know, take your bra off. Like just something, just having that release that just has that hold. And I feel like with the exhale, we can do that. We just don't really put a lot of emphasis on the exhale. Good point, Shay.
Yes. I
guys.
love that. You guys
Yeah.
you are both a bag of wellness tricks. I love it.
We are a bag of wellness tricks.
Bag of tricks.
As are you. So you have your new website too. It's Jessica Johnston with a T.org. We'll link that in our show notes here as well. And so you do a little bit of wellness coaching as well. Why don't you talk a little bit about that if somebody would want to work with you? Because I think you'd be such a great resource, not just for people going through major diagnoses, but just for people who want to feel better.
Or just to pop on your socials. Like you provide good, light, feel good content.
Well, thank you. I try really hard. A lot of times what I'm doing with people when I'm coaching or mentoring them is we're really sitting down and saying, okay, where are your areas that you want to focus? Where do you see opportunity for yourself? And my biggest thing in life is having simple daily.
Yes.
It does not have to be hard.
No, or perfect.
No, not perfect, not hard. It doesn't have to be a bunch of stuff. It just needs to be simplistic. Because if you're able to set yourself up with simple daily habits, you're going to attain those. You're going to feel the momentum and you're going to keep pushing. And then you're going to get to whatever the goal is. And you two both know, one little step at a time compounds.
Sure does.
So if it's someone needs, help with their nutrition, or are you drinking enough water is a huge one for people. They're not. You carry your water bottle around all day, but are you drinking it?
Right, and that gets rid of all your toxins,
It really helps flush your body. So it's really working one-on-one with that person, and everybody's personal work that they need to do is going to be personal to them, but it's still applying the same simple daily habits. It just may look a little bit different for each person.
And I think Joelle, who you had on your podcast too, talked about it being an evolution. Like she gets up at 4:30 in the morning now and she's like, guys, I did not start there. Nope. Like it is an evolution, right? You just do one thing, you notice how good you feel. And then maybe you add another.
You adjust it, feel. And speaking on that too, the morning thing, I had a friend that told me, I'm a night owl. And I kept saying, like, no, you need a morning routine. But then I read a book or a podcast, I don't know what it was, but it said that like when you're implementing small habits, like habits that make you feel good and help you align your best self or whatever, pick the day of the time that is best for you. And not all people are morning people. And I thought that was like a light bulb in itself, especially when it comes to like helping others, because someone that's a morning person and you always hear like you gotta start your day, and it's like on the flip side, some people have more of a value if they really evaluate their evening and put their little simplistic steps in the evening. And it was like a mindset shift for me, but
yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's a lot of what I do in the discovery calls with people is I talk through those things. Tell me about your day. What does your work look like? What is your, what does your family time look like? All those types of things. We talk about everything because it's all going to be part of the puzzle.
Yep. And that's what it is. It's a puzzle and it's an evolution. And I love this conversation. I think what I got most from it was take imperfect action even before you're ready. Evolve and change, right?
Don't focus on a plan. Just start.
Just start. Yep. All of those things were really good lessons today. And then just how important
community
and mindset are. Community and mindset for sure. So we always end our podcast with a why not of the day.
Yeah.
Like a mindset shift. Is there anything that you would like to share with our community today?
Why not give yourself a break?
Yeah.
Give yourself a break. It doesn't have to be long. What if it's 2 minutes and you say, hey, I'm driving to pick my kids up in the car. This is my time. I'm going to turn the music off and just breathe and just appreciate what I see out the window.
Allow yourself to take a bath or
Yeah.
light a candle. Yeah, those are good. I like it. Do you have any?
Allow yourself to exhale. And I'm thinking,
Ooh.
what's that Waiting to Exhale
Waiting to
movie?
exhale?
I'm
Yeah.
gonna probably watch that tonight now.
Wait, Tony Braxton.
Yeah.
Wait, no.
You
Rock
will
and breathe again.
exhale.
That might be it.
exhale.
Yes.
Shoo.
Who sings "Breathe Again"?
Yeah.
Breathe again.
Oh.
Yeah. I am like drawing a blank.
Top that, Shay.
That's a hard one. Those are two. Those
It's a
are
hard
good
to
ones. I would say, why not take imperfect action on
Yeah.
anything that you have dreamt of or said that you wanted to start? Freaking take one tiny
Yep.
action step, even before you have a plan, and see what evolves from there. Who do you meet? What do you learn? And how can you move that forward?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
I like that.
Oh.
I love it.
Is there the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Yep. They can follow on Instagram and my website. It has all the links for Instagram and LinkedIn as well. They're on there.
Perfect. We will definitely link your website in our show notes, but it's Jessica Johnston with a T.org. And we're going to be on your podcast here coming up too. So if you want to get to know us a little bit more,
Stay tuned.
stay tuned. We're going to be on her Together We Battle podcast, and people can listen to your podcast anywhere that you listen to podcasts, correct?
Yep.
Yep.
So Apple, Spotify, and can they link to your podcast from your website yet?
Yeah. She has a listen button.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So just go to her website. That's the best way.
And I don't
Alrighty.
have a website, but I just tried starting, and then I had a friend who used to build websites, and he finished it for me. So thank you
Yep.
to my friend Ryan.
Yeah. Community, right? How
Yeah.
important.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks for this awesome conversation, Jess. We appreciate you.
This is the
Ask Yourself Why Not podcast.
Gotta believe it to receive it, baby.